It's a lot of stuff. Turn that off. Fine you $5.
Coffee money.
Yeah, coffee money. All right. All right, good morning, everyone. As you can see, we had a lot of stuff up here this morning, so thank you for bearing with us while we got that all taken care of. I'd like to welcome you all to the October 16th, 2018 meeting of the Marion County Board of County Commissioners. If you could all stand with us for the invocation and pledge led by Commissioner Carl Zalek.
Bow your heads with me. Father, we thank you for this incredible day that you've given us for this country. We ask that you watch over all of the folks, the helping and with the panhandle and the storm and the recovery, and thank you for all the diligent hands and the hearts of so many people giving to that effort, both their time and their talents. Lord, we ask you to bless those folks as they recover, Lord, and thank you for being in America where we have a spirit of generosity. We ask you to bless the proceedings and give us wisdom in this day for the decisions of Marion County, and to protect all of our first responders and those out working for the citizens of Marion County today. Lord, we love you and we thank you, and we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, can we have roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Chairman Bryant?
Here.
Vice Chair Stone?
Here.
Commissioner Moore?
Here.
Commissioner Gold?
Here.
Commissioner Zalek?
Here.
All right. As I said earlier, today is October the 16th, and we are at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Marion County Board of County Commissioners. At 1:50 today, we will have a Marion County Community Redevelopment Area Board meeting regarding the MCCRA budget for fiscal year 2018-2019. And then following that at 2 p.m., we will have our zoning meeting. Zoning meetings are scheduled for the third Tuesday of every month. Immediately following that, we will have a public hearing to consider road closure petitions associated with Hunters Ridge Subdivision Plat Book 5, pages 36 and 37. And then on October the 23rd, we will be in these chambers at 4 p.m. for the Ocala-Marion County Transportation Planning Organization. Those meetings are scheduled for the fourth Tuesday of every month. On October the 25th at 2 p.m., we will be in the commission chambers again for a commission workshop to discuss rural land management, and then back here on November 6th for our regularly scheduled board meeting. With that, we'll move into item number 2 on the agenda. Or item number 1 on the agenda, our proclamations and presentations.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. First up this morning is Dr. Boraski from the Centers for a presentation. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you again for inviting me. And for those who don't know me, I'm Don Boraski. I'm the CEO and Medical Director of the Centers. You had, I think through Munir, had asked for sort of an update as to where we stand. So I had sent a brief document to you, being mindful of time.
Okay, and we need your address for the record.
My home address or work address?
Work address is fine.
Work address? I always have trouble remembering it, even though I drive there. It's 5664 Southwest 60th Avenue in Ocala, 34474.
Thank you.
So, as I had sent, and being mindful of time, there are a few items just to kind of give you an update. The first of which is we were able to finish the last fiscal year, which ended in June, with a modest profit. We're trying to finalize the books with our auditors. But in contrast to the previous 5 years where the organization had lost $1 million a year, every year, for a total of $5 million over 5 years, we were able to generate a modest profit last year of just over almost $200,000. And that's good news because, first of all, it means the centers isn't going to go out of business, and I think that's something that a lot of people have been very concerned about. But the second is it permits us then to continue going forward and hopefully expand some things. So I don't know if everybody knows, but there had been a initiative in Citrus County to peel off, in a manner of speaking, the state contract dollars for Citrus County from Marion County. The centers had historically provided services on behalf of uninsured individuals in Citrus and Marion County. Unfortunately, we did lose the Citrus County contract to a competitor organization. That resulted in a $3.1 million reduction in the amount of funding that we'll receive for this year. To reassure everybody, we've done everything that we can so that we do not diminish any kind of services in either county. We've kept open our office in Lecanto and Citrus County. Most of the, if you want to call it, reductions that we had to make were taken from the management and the non-clinical positions. And the objective here is that we wanted to preserve as many services as possible. I think we've virtually done that. We're working through the last of the, if you want to call, layoffs and reductions at this point. But I think we'll be okay with being able to do that. So I know many people were concerned about that, about the impact in Marion County, and I think we'll get through that okay without diminishing services here in Marion County. In fact, as I had started earlier, we have a couple of initiatives that we're looking to do. One of them is to expand our outpatient services. Historically, there have been a lot of people who have been unhappy with how long it takes to get in for services, delays, sometimes waiting excessively in the waiting room, and we're trying to address that. One of the things that we're very keen on doing is offering the option for people to use telehealth, potentially even from a home environment. And I think that would be very helpful for a lot of people, especially those who lack transportation. To tie into the fourth item, there were concerns about our closure of the adult psychiatry unit. The psychiatry unit, if you take a look at the way we operate, we actually have 4 inpatient units, this adult psychiatry unit being the fourth of those. That unit only offered us the ability to serve individuals with Medicare as an insurance form. We still have an adult crisis unit, we still have a child crisis unit, and we still have a detox unit. I've been talking with Mr. Stephen Quintine from the Vines. The Vines is able to accept individuals that have Medicare. Nobody in the community will be inconvenienced. We're working through details in terms of how individuals with Medicare can continue to be served at the Vines. This actually gives us an opportunity, connecting items 3 and 4, to offer an expansion in substance abuse treatment. Our detox unit has a fairly limited number of beds, and I think everybody's aware that there's an opiate epidemic, there's a lot of substance abuse concerns, and it's our intention to take the existing space of the adult psychiatry unit and increase the size of that for detox purposes. I think in general, what I would describe this as is historically the centers that engaged in sort of competing with other organizations, the Vines, if we set up an adult psychiatry unit, we're competing with the Vines. Going forward, really the intention here is to partner more with individuals, other organizations, just because there's a limit in terms of how much funding there is for healthcare to start with, and rather than everybody competing, it makes more sense for us to partner. So we're entering into a number of different partnerships and trying to expand our ability to help people without competing with other organizations. If there's one thing I may ask, and then happy to answer questions, we are currently in the process for a state-funded program, a mobile crisis program, bidding on that with the state. The intention of this program is for us to reduce the number of individuals that have Baker Acts, involuntary commitments within the county. The last number from the last reporting period is somewhere around 3,500 individuals being taken to a hospital. About 70% of those have come from law enforcement. The intention of the mobile crisis program is to put, if you want to call it, healthcare professionals in the field and permit greater access to healthcare expertise for behavioral health so that we can reduce the number of that. There are very often individuals that may make a comment in the midst of an argument, I may hurt myself comment, that really don't need to be hospitalized, but at this point, given liability concerns and other things, they're very often taken to emergency services for hospitalization. So if it would be of value to the Commission, we would appreciate if we could have a letter of support for our bid for that. I do apologize. The bid was put out in typical fashion 2 weeks ago, and we have to get it in by this Friday. So I do apologize for the timing on it, but it would be of help to us if we could have that.
Okay. Dr. Boraski, I'm fairly certain that we can accommodate
We
your
appreciate
ask.
that.
And I just want to thank you for the update this morning, and you've given us a lot of valuable information. We all know what an important component mental health services are in combating some of the very large issues that we have, not just in our community, but across the state and across the nation. And so it sounds like you've made some changes over there that are going to be extremely beneficial, and they're going to be very well. And I would like to ask how the telehealth is coming. You know, your predecessor brought that to us several years ago. Probably not your predecessor before you, but
It was a
before
while ago.
that. And you know, he was a big proponent of that. And so I'm kind of curious how that's coming along.
I think if you were to look historically, and I won't get too digressive, when I first tried to do something with telehealth, I was living in Toledo, Ohio. We purchased about $50,000 worth of equipment. There weren't any insurers that were willing to pay for it, and we had 2 offices that had this lovely equipment that sat basically in them. I think as time has gone on, people have grown more accepting of it. Insurance companies are more willing to pay for it. The state of Florida will allow people who are uninsured to receive telehealth services. And I think at this time, what we're trying to do isn't leverage necessarily technology for people to come to our locations. It's to leverage the technology so that people can get care anywhere that they are. And that really, I think, helps. Because, again, there are a lot of people who just don't have transportation. We know the bus service does not come out to our campus on Airport Road. And I think that it will help. In terms of our location or where we are with it, we're about 2, maybe 3 weeks or so from, if you want to call it, going live. We're working out the last technical details. I think one of the things that's key is if you have so-called brick and mortar like we do with a building, how do you integrate that with an electronics so that you don't have somebody that's lost in the mix? Those are the details that we're finalizing at this point to ensure that it looks good, works well, and nobody gets inconvenienced.
Very good. I know that it's been probably 4 years since we helped get that grant to purchase some of that equipment, so it's good to know that we're about to go live with that.
Yep.
So thank you. Commissioners, Commissioner Moore, did you want to say anything?
Well, just thank you for what you're doing. Also, expanding into the opioid epidemic. I appreciate you making the necessary changes to address that, because, you know, that's critical. And then also the other thing is just ask that the centers keep where we always go up to Tallahassee and lobby. We need to keep on lobbying for state funding, because out of the states, as you know, here in Florida, we're the 50th out of 50 states in per capita funding. If you put Puerto Rico as a state, we'd be 51. Washington, D.C. would be 52. We're so low on the charts of how we fund. So we need to get Tallahassee to bring down some dollars to help you. So maybe, you know, when you're expanding your opioid, you won't have to choose between this center or this center, you know, to get the space. Maybe if we could get better funding, we could expand the opioid, you know, and address the opioid epidemic without having to close down the psychiatry unit. But that's where I appreciate the changes you are making. You're making the tough choices that may not always get you the accolades, but you have to make those tough choices to have the centers move forward, and I really appreciate what you're doing there, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stone?
Well, I would like to publicly thank Dr. Boraski, as well as acknowledge his leadership on where the centers has come. Having attended those board meetings on a monthly basis now since I've been elected, I can tell you that his leadership has definitely brought a change into the centers, and I just think this is a wonderful opportunity to thank you publicly, and also thank your staff for all that you're doing for the services that you provide to our citizens.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think it's most important to emphasize the staff, and I'm one little part of it. I think if you were to take a look at particularly the leadership team that we have, it's a wonderful leadership team. They're committed to helping people, and they're committed to having the organization do what it needs to. There's no way I could have done that alone, so it's really important to recognize them too.
Absolutely.
Very good. Anyone else? All right, thank you very much for being
Thank
with
you
us
again.
this morning. So we have a walk-on item that we're going to go ahead and address before we go to the second
Motion to
item.
consider.
I have a motion to consider by Commissioner Moore with a second by Commissioner Zalek. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Commissioners, I got a phone call. Because of the hurricane, we had to change the date of our National Walk Our Children to School Day. And so they've asked us to redo that proclamation to change the date to the correct date, the rescheduled date of October the 24th, 2018. So I need a motion to
I
approve.
make a motion to approve.
Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak on this before we move to vote? All right, seeing none, I have a motion by Commissioner Stone with a second by Commissioner Moore for approval of the rescheduled date for October 24th, 2018. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. That'll take us into item 1B. And at this point, if you could all come around front. This is going to be mediation week, and I see all of our folks that are from our courts out there that handle this.
Good morning.
All right, I'm going to sneak in here with you guys. Okay. I'm not going to argue with the judge on place to speak. So good morning, everyone. It's our pleasure to have you here with us so that you can talk a little bit about Mediation Week and then also to acknowledge the importance of the services that you provide to the citizens of Marion County. For those of you who don't know, we have Judge Lant here, Judge Thompson, Judge McCune, and their wonderful staff members, and these folks all make sure that things in our court system run smoothly, and they save us lots of money with the mediation services that they provide and help people in ways that are much better than the course that they're already taking. So anyway, I have a proclamation by the Board of County Commissioners of Marion County, Florida, whereas Marion County, Florida has been a leader in recognizing and promoting mediation as an alternative to litigation. And whereas administrative agencies, courts, and court-sponsored programs use mediation to effectively and efficiently resolve disputes. And whereas mediation is a voluntary, non-adversarial, and informed method of conflict resolution that empowers individuals and businesses to develop solutions to conflicts which are mutually agreeable and tailored to their particular needs. And whereas mediation is taught and practiced in many of our schools not only as a means of resolving individual disputes, but also as a means of achieving a more peaceful society. And whereas community-based mediation programs strengthen relationships among Marion County citizens by assisting in the resolution of neighborhood and community conflicts. And whereas Florida Supreme Court certified county mediators in Marion County have donated over 750 hours of time in the past year to assist the Marion County Court. I'd like to know what that amounts to in dollars at some point. Now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of Marion County, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in us, do hereby proclaim that the week of October 14th through 20th, 2018 be known as Mediation Week in Marion County, Florida, and the Board urges all citizens in recognizing the significant contributions of peaceful conflict resolvers and to extend greetings and best wishes to all observing Mediation Week. Duly proclaimed the 16th day of October, 2018, signed by all 5 county commissioners and attested to by David Elsperman, clerk of the court. So, who's going to get to hold this while you talk? There we go. I'm going to turn to my right and present this, and I believe Mr. Thomas is going to tell us a few things about what's going on.
Certainly, thank you, commissioners. And we do all appreciate the fact that the community recognizes mediation as well as the benefit it provides to both the court and to the citizens of Marion County. I will say that we in Marion County have done over 1,492 mediations through the court mediation services, and of that, over 587 of those have been small claims and county mediations where volunteers who have been certified by the Florida Supreme Court to do these mediations have come in and done those. And of those, I will tell you that they have had about 70% success in reference to settling cases with citizens of the county. And that, of course, saves our judges to be able to focus on those things that are needed to be focused on, as well as looking over these cases. Any judges would like to say anything?
Would you like to introduce your team that you have here with you today?
Well, that's Tom's job. But we do have Judge McCune and Judge Thompson. Judge Thompson's JA, my JA, and Debbie, who is the head of all mediations in the circuit, and of course Tom. And we want to thank especially all the mediators who, you know, they drive sometimes from all the way across the county or further. They come to court every Tuesday. Some days they spend 2 or 3 hours mediating, and some days they spend an hour and a half watching and then go home. It just depends upon the caseload. And so their dedication is something that needs to be mentioned and appreciated by all of us. And so we thank them, and we thank the county for your support.
Judge McCune, Judge Thompson, would you like to say anything? Debbie?
I just want to thank everybody for being here. Judges, thank you so much for your support. And to all of you that are observing this, I'm always making a plug that we always need volunteers. So if you're interested in doing something great for your county and something interesting to learn a little bit more about the court system, see one of us afterwards and we can tell you a little bit about it.
Debbie can tell you a little bit about a lot of the things that go on over in our courthouse. So thank you for all you do too. So thank you all for being here. Please extend our sincerest gratitude to those folks who come and volunteer their time. And we thank them for what they do. They're providing a valuable service to the citizens of Marion County in more ways than one, not just the people that they're helping, but also the taxpayers of Marion County. So thank you all, and thank you for bringing this to everyone's attention.
Thank you.
I know. Here, I'm gonna let you.
You want me to stand by you?
Well, I need somebody to let me make me a little skinnier.
All right. I was gonna put them all on your. Commissioner Swank.
Commissioner and Debbie.
All right, here we go.
Wherever you want.
Oh, you want it there? She looks better here.
Okay.
Yeah, she can hold the proclamation.
Sir, have a simple. Really?
Oh, yeah, he does.
You guys better come in and never be in the picture.
And then everyone needs to take a step to the right.
Yeah.
Up to the right.
Everybody does it. We're just gonna.
3, 2, 1. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you, absolutely. Thanks, everybody.
Congratulations.
Oh, yeah. All right.
See you, Judge.
Okay, next we're going to do some employee service awards, and I see Amanda is already up here. So we're going to turn it over to Amanda Tart, our Human Resources Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Tart, Human Resources Director. Each quarter, we come to you all with employees that have achieved 15 years of service with Marion County or more. And today, I have a great group of employees to welcome onto the stage with you all. Ryan Hoppy in our Facilities Management Department with 15 years of service. Ryan was hired in 2003 as a Facilities Technician 1 and was promoted through various roles, including custodian, and now to his current position of Facilities Technician 2 in 2018.
When did you start? When you were like 3?
Right.
Okay. And next we have April Chappell in our Facilities Management Department with 15 years of service. April started as an intern in 2003 with the public library system. She transferred to a full-time library assistant and then through various roles throughout the organization, including circulation assistant, staff assistant, business services coordinator, and her current position in the Facilities Management Department of Budget and Administration Coordinator in 2017. Denise Del Visco in Fire Rescue with 15 years of service. Denise was hired in 2003 as a Staff Assistant 2 within Fire Rescue and was promoted to Staff Assistant 3 and then to the position of Administrative Staff Assistant in 2018. Eric Love in our Utilities Department with 15 years of service. Eric was hired in 2003 as a Utilities Technician 2 and was promoted through various roles, including Utilities Mechanic 2 and 3, Utilities Mechanic Crew Leader, and then to his current position of Utilities Maintenance Supervisor in 2013. Ooh, good catch. Marshall Runkles in Fire Rescue with 15 years of service. Marshall joined the county in 2003 as a firefighter and was promoted to various roles, including firefighter EMT, firefighter 1 and 2, and his current position of firefighter 3.
Which way to go?
What? You kind of had to
How are you, sir?
Okay.
Hopefully. That's right.
Next, we have Steve Jones in Utilities with 15 years of service. Steve was hired in 2003 as a wastewater plant operator and was promoted to various roles, including pre-treatment coordinator and to his current position of Utilities Operator Supervisor in 2013.
Thank you, Steve.
And next we have Tony Bewley in our Building Safety Department with 20 years of service. Tony was hired in 1998 as a Building Inspector 1 and was promoted to various roles, including Plans Examiner 3 and 4, Senior Plans Examiner, Chief Plans Examiner, and his current position of Inspector and Plans Examiner Supervisor in 2018. Commissioners, our next employee is not able to be here with us today, but we have David Cooper in our Fire Rescue Department with 25 years of service. Lieutenant Cooper started with us in 1993 as a firefighter paramedic and promoted up through the ranks to his current position of lieutenant. He is unable to be with us today because he is part of Task Force 8, which has been dispatched to the Panhandle to help in regards to Hurricane Michael. Next, we have Paul Parker in the Office of the County Engineer with 25 years of service. Paul joined the county in 1993 as a labor crew foreman and was promoted to various roles, including labor crew supervisor, crew leader, road maintenance supervisor, and his current position of crew supervisor in 2018. And last but not least, we have Ken Horn in the Office of the County Engineer with 25 years of service. Ken joined the county in 1993 as a medium equipment operator and was promoted through various roles, including labor crew foreman, labor crew supervisor, maintenance crew supervisor, heavy equipment operator, crew leader, and his current position of crew supervisor in 2018. On behalf of Marion County, we congratulate each and every one of these employees. We thank them for their loyal service and many contributions to the citizens of Marion County. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. And thank you to all of our employees that were here today that we were able to recognize. You are all an integral part of what makes Marion County work every day, and we thank you for your service to the citizens of Marion County. Thank you. All right, so now we have a very special presentation, and we're going to have Chief Banta come up. He has a presentation and a short video, so commissioners, we can stand or we can sit if you like and then come back. Thank you. They're choosing to sit.
It's easier to see the screen.
Yeah, that way, yeah, we can see this. No. Good morning, Chief Banta.
Good morning, Commissioners. James Banta, Fire Chief. I come before you today to highlight another special story where our firefighters were able to help save a life. On January 30th, 2018, at 4:38 a.m., Public Safety Communications received a 911 call from a citizen en route to work in reference to a single motor vehicle accident. The 911 caller stated that the vehicle had crashed into a fence. Marion County Fire Rescue Engine Company 11, Rescue 19 were dispatched to 4900 West Highway 329 in Reddick. The first unit arrived at 4:46 a.m. to find the single vehicle in the fence with the female driver of the sedan impaled by a fence post through her chest cavity. Lieutenant Stephen Johnson established command on scene and declared the patient a trauma alert due to the injury sustained by the patient and the unique entrapment scenario. Lieutenant Johnson immediately requested additional resources, which included another engine company, the Marion County Fire Rescue Technical Rescue Team, and the Shands Carrier helicopter. Our firefighters gained access through the back window, placed a neck brace on the patient, and covered her with a blanket while Lieutenant Johnson remained in the vehicle with the patient, keeping her calm and reassuring her that they were not going to let her die. Actually seeing her heart beating through the gaping wound, Lieutenant Johnson quickly applied a pressure bandage while additional firefighters worked to stabilize the patient while Lieutenant Johnson directed others to cut through the fence post. Lieutenant Johnson stabilized the post and ensured that it remained in her chest cavity as to not cause further injury while other firefighters used a reciprocating saw to cut the post. At 5:31 a.m., the Shands Carrier helicopter landed adjacent to the accident scene. Firefighters delicately removed the patient from the vehicle wreckage. In less than 10 minutes, the patient was removed from the vehicle, packaged on the stretcher, loaded into the helicopter, and flown to the Shands Teaching Hospital in Gainesville. Lieutenant Johnson and the entire crew's ability to remain calm under the most stressful situations directly impacted the patient's survival from this accident. Nakaya Ingram is alive and well today and will live to tell her story due to the efforts of her heroes. Before I introduce the crews involved in this save, we have a short video to play you. This is the first of a series of videos, clips outlining Nakaya's accident, medical treatment, and her subsequent recovery.
I ran into the sign that says it's turning. It hit the back window, and then I went over a little hill or whatever, and the fence was in me. And then I passed out for a little bit, and I woke back up, and I couldn't move. Like, it was hard to move my arms and stuff. I couldn't move my head, my legs. It felt like they were stuck.
She said she could feel the wood in her chest, that she could feel her heartbeat on the wood as she was touching the wood, so it was that close. It was literally right next to her heart, so when her heart pumped, it was hitting up against the post.
Pretty calm about it. Started like touching, because I wasn't sure what was dripping down, and it just all clicked and I was out. I was so close to home during the accident, like 5 minutes away. And you know, I could kind of feel myself slipping away that night, you know, because I was out there for so long.
She was in that field for 2 hours. Someone was on his way to work when he saw the car. And just so he said he got out, saw her, and didn't think she was alive. So he called 911 and knew the fire station was only a mile away. So he got in his car, drove to the fire station because he knew that'd be faster than waiting for dispatch.
All right, Commissioners, I'm going to call forward the firefighters involved, and then we're going to have a very special reunion following that after the recognition. I'd like to call forward Lieutenant Stephen Johnson. Firefighter paramedic Kevin Oates. Firefighter EMT Jacob Banta. Firefighter EMT Jonah Wolf. And driver engineer Mike Poole. And Commissioners, there are a few other that were not able to attend, some dispatched to the Panhandle, and then others that had previous engagements.
All right. Come here, guys. We need you to get in the middle. So I will tell you all that James Lucas sent us an email that told about the events of that evening, and then I also watched the video that Shan's produced. And one thing I would like to say, Chief Banta, I think there's a tool that all of our rescues and engines need to have that I believe another unit brought to the scene. So make sure they all have that. Okay, good. And, you know, just watching this incredible story, and when you really, if you read it and if you watch the video, Lieutenant Johnson, you and your crew stayed very calm in a situation that could have ended completely differently. You made the difference. You are the reason that I believe Nakia is here, and so we just thank you from the bottom of our hearts, as I'm sure her family does. As a mother of 3 daughters and a son, I can't imagine. And so with all that said, we would like to invite Nakia and her family to come up and see you guys. You are a lucky young lady. They took very good care of you, and you definitely had angels watching over you. Hi, how are you? And who is this? Your little brother. How are you doing? Good. Do you want to say anything this morning?
morning.
All right. And so anyway, it's an incredible story. And for those of you who are interested, Shan's made a video of Nakia's story, and it's just amazing and incredible. And I know that her parents are very, very happy. He's right here. He's hanging by these guys. Yeah, all right. And Nakia, would you like to say anything? You want to say anything to these guys? I'll give you this. If you like, if not, it's okay. All right. All right. Mom and Dad?
You doing okay? I just want to be real brief. This was a very tragic situation for us, and these guys, they come to work every day, and not only are they committed to their county and to their job, but they're also committed to the citizens of this county. And I mean, they've reached out to us, they've kept in contact, making sure that if there was anything they could do to help, just checking the status on Nakia. And so my family and I, we're very appreciative of that. And you guys are such a blessing to this community, and I just want to say thank you to all of you.
Lieutenant Johnson, would you like to say anything?
It's really just, it's a big deal to see you standing here right now. Because I didn't think I'd see that. So I'm just really glad you're here.
So because Chief Banda didn't go completely into it, just so everybody understands, I mean, they had to make some decisions in the field that early that morning, and they were incredible. I mean, you have to understand the pole had not just gone into one part, but it was the fence post. It was all the way through. And it is completely because of the actions and the forethought. They knew that they had to be extremely, extremely careful. And I know that when you got to Shan's, I know that the doctors, she spent many, many hours in surgery, but it's because of what you guys did to get her there and to make sure that that didn't become lodged. That was actually acting as a compressant to keep the worst from happening. So incredible, incredible, incredible job. And just, I can't say how, thank you. I mean, and I know that Nakia's parents are the same way. So anyway, this is why you do what you do every day. So we thank you. Did my makeup for nothing this morning.
I know, but that's heart-wrenching. The newspaper article was great.
Oh yeah, it was all very good.
It's gone.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
His eyes were sweating.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's leaking.
Leaking, yeah.
Leaking. All right, that is all of our proclamations and presentations. Thanks again, you guys. Now we'll go into our general public items, and first on the to speak today is Tammy Spears.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for seeing us today. And I do say us because I'm only the spokesperson for the 18 signatures that you see on that letter that Ms. Carrie Blood sent to y'all via email. And I hope you've had a chance to read it.
She's got it ready.
Madam Clerk, you have all the information, name and address. Need that address, Ms. Spears, please.
Of the address of the incident?
No, your address.
Mine, 2160 Southeast 185th Terrace, Silver Springs, 34488. First, I'd like to say that we're not here today to get anyone or any department into trouble. We just feel that if everyone would dig deeper into the facts, then there might be further cause for action and hopefully to resulting in the cleanup of our neighborhood. This is why we're here today, is because of our neighborhood. There's a man that lives in the shed, and he resides in there. That shed was given to him in 2017, September 2017. And as far as we know, there have been no permits pulled for that shed. I looked online, I didn't see any. He's also not had to pay for the demolition permit, which he did. I know that he hasn't paid for that yet. Whether he's getting fined or not, we don't know. And there's also a fence that runs in the back of his yard. That has no permit and has never been cited for that. Number two, that we contacted the code enforcement about the issues of him not having any septic or sewer system, and we were told it was an issue for the health department. When we contacted the health department, they told us it was a code enforcement problem, and we really don't know whose department that would be. After recontacting code enforcement, we were told, and I quote, "We do have homeless people in Marion County," and our response to that is there are shelters until such permits can be purchased. If you need a permit to have a septic or a sewer put in, then you certainly would have to have one to live there. We were told this is not a violation. Number three, the fire department was called about a 75-yard electrical cords that running across pine needles. And they told us because his property was fenced in, they could not go investigate. But we assured them that everything is visible from the street and laying across public property. They did not come out. There was no investigation done. This is a man who has had 2 trailers burned down in 7 months. We were in fear of yet another fire and perhaps even catching on to one of our homes. There were so many calls to the police about drugs and prostitution. We have no idea how many calls. I would expect that the police department would have the records of how many calls have been done to that address. We physically went to the police station and asked them to put up a sheriff's watch sign, and they literally laughed at us, and I quote, said, "Good luck with that, they'll just tear it down." We hoped that the presence of an officer putting up the sign might help us, but they gave us the sign and we had to put it up ourselves. And if you'll please take a look at the photos that were provided from Ms. Blood as well. Photo number 1 is the shell after the fire. Photo number 2 is obviously the night of the fire. Number 3 is the bed that code enforcement said he could not have on his property, wasn't supposed to be sleeping there anymore. Those photos were only taken 6 days ago, on October 9th. And then photos 4, 5, and 6, you can see that that is a clothesline where he has hung sheets over so him and his guests can all go to the bathroom behind it. There's a canal back there, which people live back there, and like I said before, no permit for that demolition. None of the photos were taken on his property. All of them can be seen from either public properties or from our own properties themselves. It seems that every time he breaks the rules, he's throwing it in our faces, he's throwing it in your faces. He doesn't pay permits because he thinks he's above all that and can get away with it. Does not comply with code enforcement because he thinks he can get away with it. and we're asking that we can do something about it. In closing, everything we're doing here to bring to your attention of public, we know it's all a matter of public record, and it scares us because of the type of man this and his guests are, and we're afraid for our homes, our pets, our children, and of course ourselves. And we thank you again for seeing us today. We hope we'll be able to help us clean up our small community in Marion County, or point us in the direction that will help us to solve this dangerous issue. Thank you from all of us at Half Moon.
Okay, so I do have a few notes here, and you have a neighbor, Miss Aubrey O'Neill, that states that Donald, who is the owner of the property, is actually living with her, and then he stays at the property during the day. And she actually, I guess, put that in writing.
She put that in writing. I don't know the date of that letter, but as of 2 weeks ago, her and her husband have said that he never did stay there once they wrote the letter. He never did stay there once, and I asked code enforcement to go back out and re-interview them because they said he's not even welcome on their property anymore. They've put up 4 no trespassing signs since then.
Okay, all right. Who wants to talk?
Sam.
Sam?
Oh, absolutely.
Sam
He won't
Artsoff.
bite, I promise.
No. Sam Artsoff, Marion County Growth Services Director. Yeah, we've been out at least twice last week and yesterday as well. So that's what we're supposed to be doing, is interviewing those folks, and we're taking a different approach at it. It's a zoning violation, obviously, having those kind of structures on a residential lot. So we will have we'll assign a very short time frame to get that to the code enforcement board, so we can start some finding. And I think Ms. Spears is exactly right. We had 3 different organizations working in 3 different directions, so we'll coordinate that effort and get the health department involved and see what he's doing out there behind the sheets.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Spears.
Anything else? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. That's everybody who signed up ahead of time. Next, I have Matthew Holland.
Matthew Holland, 7525 Southeast 112 Lane in Bellevue. How's everyone doing today? I'm here to comment just for a couple minutes in reference to last week. We had a question in regards to local preference with the FEMA contract, and we understand we've got
Mr. Holland, hold on. Do you work for Geotech?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Should we go ahead and take his public comment, or do we have any issues with that since we're going to be taking further action? Mr. Minter?
They did before.
Okay.
Public comment before, yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm okay to proceed?
You're okay.
Okay, all right. I appreciate it. Yeah, so we got your written response. We understand there's no preference. That's mainly for federal and for state and not for local, which would obviously be you guys. So we do understand that. Another point that was brought up was the grading criteria last week, which wasn't referenced in the answer and in the written response to us. So I just wanted to reiterate that and bring that up today. And looking at the scores that were given out to the applicants, there seems to be some discrepancies in the grading criteria, and maybe it's just a misunderstanding on my part. But in looking at these scores, we have a range of scores. For one company that the lowest score was 76, the highest was 78. You have a range of 2 points there. We have another company that the range was from 79 to 84. That's 5 points. This is based on scoring that was given to all the applicants. Geotech, the highest score is 76, and the lowest was 41. So the point difference there is 35 points. There's a 35-point range there between the lowest score and the highest score that was given for this grading criteria. 35 points. These other 2 companies, it was 2 points and 5 points. So the obvious question is, where is the discrepancy? And why is that range so large? What's the grading criteria? What was it that caused one single score to be 35 points lower than the other score? We just want to be treated fairly and graded fairly. And it just seems to me that there's a little bit of a problem with the logic in regards to these numbers. So I would just ask that you take a look at that. We all have the same goal. We want to service the community. We want to service Marion County. I know we've given out some, you guys have given out some awards this morning for 15 years of service. Geotech's been here for 20 years. We've been servicing the community, and we like to continue to do that and work with you on other projects. We would just ask that we be treated fairly for future grading criteria on other contracts. So I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Sure, Commissioner Zalek.
So in that case, did you request clarification on the score?
I don't know if it was explicitly requested. Okay. It was brought up at the last meeting.
Our last meeting or your last meeting
yes,
with
sir.
Staff?
The last meeting here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the particular item that the score was that different on?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so you said that the one score was different. What was that question or that criteria?
Well, I'm just looking at the evaluation criteria in a score sheet summary that was given us.
What was it about?
It wasn't a particular question. It was an overall score from one of 3 scores. Okay. So it wasn't a particular.
I'll look at the piece of paper.
Yeah.
So can I ask you? So if Geotech had an issue, did you guys have before it came before the Board of County Commissioners, did you have the right to file a grievance?
I'd have to research that. I'm
so
not
Susan,
sure.
why don't you come up and tell us if they did or did not have a chance before we voted on it, a chance to file to clarify any of these actions?
Yes, it's a process that we have in our ordinance that you've all approved in the ordinance and the policies and procedures. We send out a notice of intent to all of the vendors that submitted. The notice of intent outlines that there is an available protest process to follow and that they have a number of days to file the protest with us. It's just a letter and a protest bond, which is a minimal amount just to eliminate any frivolous protests. And then we go through a process where they first meet with us informally. We discuss their concerns. We go through a whole process. Then I make a decision. If they don't agree with that decision, it goes up a level to administration, and then finally to the board. So there is an outlined process, and we have that in place for every solicitation. They were notified of it.
So that bid could have come to us under protest.
Yes, and since it didn't, then.
So that's where we're really having the struggle, though, right? I mean,
well, if they would have followed the protest process, they would have had a chance to speak to you as a board. Right now, we didn't get a protest, and as far as I know, didn't have any kind of contact with procurement after the notice of intent was sent out. So
I just want to clarify the
technically,
rules again for
the
myself.
Prohibition of lobbying is still in place right now.
Okay. And we understand if the proper protocol isn't followed.
So you guys decided not to protest the award?
I'd have to ask the owner.
Okay.
And research that a little bit more. But I understand if we didn't.
So that's kind of the predicament we're in right now.
Sure.
Is that without a protest, it's kind of hard for us to go back under. Mr. Minter, I don't know if you.
Well, I think another issue.
We obviously have local preference in lots of the bids that we do. That we have money for the county. And obviously, we try to do that, but this is federal dollars.
Sure.
And it gets real sticky. And
Well, we're prohibited from local preference in bidding those
federal
contracts
dollars,
out
right.
in federal, in these FEMA contracts.
Without a protest being filed at the right time before the award, we're kind of.
Well, that's a problem, but I think the Geotech was not even the second lowest bidder. So that's another factor. Normally, you would have a protest by the second lowest bidder who would have been in line to get the job if the first.
But anybody could protest
anybody
at any.
but
yeah.
But then the other thing is, if I heard the numbers correctly, as I was listening to the numbers, even the higher numbers that were recited for Geotech were not as high as the first and second bidders.
Right. Yeah, they were in third, so they don't have a standing in line right now unless we were.
So what the gentleman's trying to find out though is seems like one score was skewed
There may be, and there's always, when you have humans scoring things, they're all looking at it from different points of view. Somebody's looking at it from the office point of view, somebody's looking at it at the field point of view.
Actually, I'd like to address that if I could, because the same score scored almost identical to all 3 other scores for 2 of the other companies. So if that was in fact the case, then it would stand to reason that this score would also be the same.
And quite frankly, sir, your point could be valid. Without a protest, though,
sure,
right?
We can't. There's nothing in the process for us to do at this point.
Okay.
And that's really the.
I can understand. I would just ask in the future maybe to look over these grading criteria, because it's obvious to me and anyone
if you guys
who
get in that
looks at
situation,
this. Yep.
please file a protest.
Sure.
Because that's where your remedy really is, and then when it comes before the board, it comes before the board under protest, and we can dive in.
Yes.
Right now,
our hands are tied.
2 people won in front of you, and it's almost impossible. So
I understand that. For the current contract, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you taking the time to look into that and providing us with an answer. So.
And Tracy?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Holland.
Tracy Straub, County Engineer for the record. I just wanted to share the scores that Mr. Holland relayed. Those were the round 1, the submittals that the applicant made, the book that the submittals that the applicant made. That we understand that you have this disparity. You're going to have people with these different opinions. They started with a fresh slate at round 2, so they got the opportunity. You presented your materials in writing, and then you come in and you present again to us, and they started with round 2. So that first score didn't stop you from moving forward through the process, and I think that shows how the process works to everyone's advantage.
And this is the first round of scores.
Yeah.
And I would offer, I'd be happy to talk to you at any time over in the office, and we can go over the scores. And
okay.
I mean,
and I think what would be great is that
I'd love to take you up on that.
If you actually would take Susan up on that, because we try to do a lot of local training.
Sure.
With contractors here, and I think if she can help you outline all of the different pieces and all the different remedies that you have, because when it's taxpayer dollars, there is a lot of, there's just a lot of criteria around it. We do have to, significantly protect those dollars and make sure that it's fair. But she can give you the ins, the outs, and I think if you take that time, this way the next bid comes out, you guys are ready to perform at that level.
Okay, great. I
Right, and they also can go over, like, the presentations, what the selection committee saw that might have pushed one firm ahead of another firm in the grading when it comes to that, and tell you and really dive into that thoroughly, and just would help you prepare better for the next opportunity to bid on any kind of a contract like this in the future. I know you guys, we do lots of work with you on other things, and we're very proud to have Geotech as a partner here in our community on the other work that we do with you. And of course, anytime that our staff, our people always want to work with local, because it's much easier for us to work with our local contractors. Unfortunately, when it comes to these contracts, I mean, they come down, they audit the selection process, they audit the interview process, they audit how we got to give these, how these contracts are awarded. And if we don't follow everything to the T, we are putting our reimbursement at risk. And with Hurricane Irma, it was a $3 million contract. That's a lot of money for the citizens of Marion County to have to cover if we do something wrong on our end and we put that reimbursement at risk. So I'm sure that you I'm sure you all fully understand that, but we always want, if we can, we always want to work with our local contractors.
Okay, I appreciate it, and I'll take you up on that offer.
By the way, at this point, all that stuff becomes public record, so I would pull who came in first, who came in second, look at the different pieces of it, go bring all of that material, analyze it with your team, come back and talk with Susan, and just, because there's a lot of effort in that and a lot of opportunity for you guys. I think it's just kind of like going back and watching game film, and it gives you an opportunity to really perfect that process. So
okay, will do.
Commissioner
Gold.
Well, Commissioner Stone actually asked first, so Commissioner Stone.
I was just going to offer my notebook Susan,
yeah.
to provide to them.
But as well as the notebook, after the vote is made, we can make public record all the audios of the presentations and everything. But we do this for any vendor, and we'll sit down and talk to you and kind of debrief you on the whole process, and really for next time,
Yeah, I'd love that.
hopefully you'll submit and be chosen.
Okay, thank you. All right, I appreciate your time.
Commissioner
Oh,
Gold?
yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I don't want to be too redundant and go over the same stuff over and over again, but I kind of see where they're coming from, and I think it's a unique situation. I know there's nothing we can do at this point with this contract, but you know, it made me start thinking about it when we came up last year, and I think the bid came up. What was the, and I keep forgetting the name, what was the first group that did the debris cleanup?
Wood O'Brien.
Yeah.
Well, they did the monitoring.
Yeah.
Wood O'Brien.
And then the one that did
Grubbs.
the original, that was supposed to be our vendor to do
Grubbs.
the debris cleanup.
I think it was Grubbs, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they didn't come through because they had other jobs, and I mean, literally, in my opinion, I don't think they had a vested interest in our community because, you know, there was other places to make more money. Because I even questioned it why we were using Hamlet Construction at the time, an underground company. They had no experience either. And I think they did an excellent job and came through for us far and beyond. So I know we're limited with the Stanford Act, which is very broad, but you know, it's good to see that we can use or keep our local vendors there because, you know, in the end, like right now, I guarantee you if we went out and tried to find somebody to come in and do the monitoring, to do the cleanup, everybody's going to be in the Panhandle, everybody's going to be in North Carolina, and are they going to be there for us? And I guarantee you if it's a local company, whether it be Geotech or whoever else does it, I think they'll be here that day when we call them. And I know it's, Tracy and Susan, y'all did a great job with explaining this to me because, you know, Stanford Act kicked into me and I said, oh, that's, you know, that has to do with student loans, and you went through and explained a lot of it. But, you know,
Stafford.
it is.
That's Stafford. Stafford Act.
Stafford, see? So either one. So they got everything straightened out. And but I do think that, you know, we need to really keep that in mind with the local part on there because they are going to be the ones that, when we have these emergencies, are going to come up and help us. So, I mean, that's my opinion on it, and you know, I think we completely need to support our local vendors on it whenever we can.
Oh, we absolutely support our local vendors. As a matter of fact, I think when Commissioner Zalek and I were originally elected to the board, and we were in the middle of the recession, that was one of the first things that we as a board changed as far as policies were concerned, was giving local our local people preference. And so we push that, and anytime that we can, we do. There's no doubt about that.
Now, when we have this, since we cannot use it, how is there anything we can't even add it into the grading criteria?
No.
No,
at all?
we cannot add it into the grading criteria.
Not for federally reimbursed contracts, not when it comes to FEMA.
No, I mean, any documentation you look at for FEMA and any of the training we go to, it's out there that we cannot do that. That's one of the foremost things they teach us.
And I understand the training too, where that came in, and y'all did a good job explaining it. But you know, I just got to look at our past performance with Hamlet too, and you know, I don't think anybody had done a job that big. And
that was an extraordinary circumstance done on an emergency basis with Hamlet, and then he developed his process and his procedures and came back through the RFP process now with a very good plan, and so they came out on top in this RFP process.
I think our locals can do that too.
I do too.
So.
We're going to talk a little bit more about this when we get to this item on 9C. So I've asked the county administrator and a few questions, so we'll go over it a little more when we get to that.
Sounds great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to take us, that's all that I have signed up to speak ahead of time. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Please come forward at this time.
Henry Munoz, 495 Marion Oaks Boulevard. On item 7B, I want to say thank you for saving us the money. 500 on the roof, 6,000 on the fire station. That's very good. And for 7E1, thank you for giving us more water availability out there. I'll be able to take a better shower. I won't have to rush through it.
Are you rushing now?
Yeah, rushing now.
Okay.
Yeah. And only taking it once or twice a week.
Well, now you can up the time.
Up the time. Excuse me?
That was Jack.
Miss Virginia's back there talking.
Okay.
That was Jack.
That was Jack's
Or Jack, okay.
Yeah, see? Jack's getting you in trouble, Miss Virginia.
And I would like a little more clarification on 11D, the ad valorem tax
11D?
by the MSTU. Okay, that's all.
Yeah, that's to schedule a public hearing to consider the uniform method of collecting the non-ad valorem assessments. That is just part of the procedure that we have to do that. Hello, Miss Virginia.
Good morning, Commissioners.
We haven't seen you in a while.
I was ill with my foot,
Oh, no.
but thank God it's getting better.
Good.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. I also want to thank you, Commissioners, for 7B1 and 7B2 for saving us the taxpayers some money. And also for 7E1, that someone remember Marion Oaks. And thank you for really giving us a hefty shower, as Mr. Munez said. And this morning I sat there, and when the first response, the fire rescue came through with this young lady, I was tearing up. And that's why I always ask for prayer for first responders. Because when they go out there, they have to make decisions in a split second. And that could cost life or save life. And I have to say again, thanks to our first responders. And just keep praying for everyone that is out there, you giving up their lives to protect us. And pray for our military. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nechtel?
Nobody else?
Campaign.
I was hoping about 100 people would get up. Good morning.
Good morning.
Roger Nechtel, 12727 Southeast 97th Terrace in beautiful Summerfield. My wife asked me this morning, are you going to say anything? And I said yes. She says you may not be welcome home.
You want to say hi to her before she locks you out?
On our amendments to be voted on is Amendment 1, possibly changing the homestead reduction. All those things are state-controlled. You folks get less and less control of everything. People that are not homesteaded pay about 35 or 40% more than I do, or we do. I think that's more than fair. These changes are just sort of like socialism in action. Why should my neighbor who pays another $1,000 to $1,200 more than me, who's only here 6 months or less, uses the roads less, services less, air less, water less, sewers less, pay more money? So with that, I read off what I was going to say, and my wife walked out of the room. But we are conditioned to get everything for nothing. And it's wrong. That's all I can say. It's not fair. I think Jesus made a couple of things that are recommended or mandatory, and the last one was being fair. And you have no control over that, but you can see how the government is, the state, the federal government, the world government is taking over things, you know. Roundup is a pesticide that's now been banned by the United Nations Health Organization. I don't know, I just felt I should say that. And also, my
You're not
father
using
told me
Roundup, are
once.
you?
Huh?
You're not using Roundup, are you?
Oh, I lived on Roundup.
You lived on it?
Yes. And I'm sure I drank it. You know, you use it. I used to bite my nails for years, so I used to clean my nails by drinking or eating my nails and, you know, the liquid on it.
Excellent. It's calcium.
I'm still here. There's a few things that they outlawed that were good. You know, DDT is my last one. I still have time. DDT was outlawed. It used to save about 8 million people a year. It was used in South America and Africa by the gazillions of tons. Every hut was lined with that and killed bugs, flies. It never affected a human being. But a person wrote a book in California saying it might affect the bald eagle's shells. It may be getting thinner. And that was a perfect reason for our government to outlaw that.
Mr. Nechtel?
And allow 8 more million people to die. God bless you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment portion of the meeting for now and move into item number 3. We have no minutes to adopt, so that'll be item number 4.
So moved.
Second.
4A and 4B?
Yes.
I have a motion by Commissioner Stone with a second by Commissioner Moore to move items 4A and 4B. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Mr. Clerk.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. 5A, 1 through 4 is listed on the agenda for approval for budget amendments, please.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Moore with a second by Commissioner Stone to move items 5A1 through 5A4. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
As we have no public hearings this morning, we'll go ahead and move into our consent agenda, and I'll start to my left with Commissioner Moore for any item that needs to be pulled.
I'm not going to pull it. Just want to say thank you to our facilities for their work on 7B2, but I'm not going to pull anything.
Okay, Commissioner Zalek.
I'm good, thanks.
Commissioner Gold. Commissioner Stone.
You need one of us to pull it?
Yeah, I have a couple items.
Yep. I'll get to those.
Okay.
No, I'll pass. I think mine will be taken care of.
Okay. I believe we're going to have to pull 7E5. And then I have, after we pull that, we'll go through that, and then we have a walk-on item from Human Resources. Are you going to cover that under your county administrator items?
Yes, and I would like to withdraw item 7C3.
Okay. So we're going to withdraw item 7C3 and then pull.
A revised item will be presented under
Right.
Section 9.
And then we're going to pull 7E5 for revision.
Yes.
All right, anything else? Seeing none, I'll look for a vote to approve the remainder of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Moore with a second by Commissioner Stone to approve the balance of the consent agenda excluding item 7C3, which was withdrawn, and 7E5, which will be revised. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. 7E5.
7E5, Commissioner, you have a revision in the contract that it's in front of you. That's a contract with G2. They are working on trying a new process in their plant at the landfill. It will cost us no additional money. The same money we are paying to haul leachate and dispose off of it, we will be paying G2 to process it through their plant. Few items were added to the contract for clarification, and those are listed on the cover page. And if you have any questions, Angel has been very involved, and Mr. Minter in this contract will be able to answer any question you may have.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I do.
Commissioner Zalek.
So what is the odor remedy? And then what is so if we're paying that fee, do we also participate in the profits like we do on the energy sale?
Not on this contract.
Why not?
Angel?
Commissioner, to answer the odors, we don't expect odors to happen, but if they do, that's the reason that we put a little bit more language in there to stop the operation, mitigate those odors before they can continue on. In terms of the profit, this is kind of a pilot project at this point, so we are only looking at paying them the expenses that we normally would incur, but they're actually going to have more expenses related to this. They expect not to turn a profit out of this pilot project. And Mark Bartow is here in the audience with G2 in case you would like to speak with him too.
Did they give you an estimated cost of infrastructure improvement costs?
I do not have that, but Mark Bartow here, if he can come up to the podium, maybe he can give us a little bit more information.
Good morning.
Morning. How are y'all?
Oh, good. How are you?
Doing all right. George White, Ops Manager, Solid Waste, and I've got Mark Bartow, G2 Energy, to answer any questions you may have.
Good morning, Commissioners and County Administration. I'm Mark Bartow with G2 Energy. We're based out of Boise, Idaho, and we operate the landfill gas to energy plant out at Baseline Landfill. My address is 2205 Mace Road, Eagle, Idaho. And our local address is 5601 Southeast 66th at Baseline Landfill. I can tell you that we don't have any profit built into this for right now. We estimate that cost probably will be around $800,000 for installation of this equipment, all in. So it's a solution that's provided by Perennial Energy, and we've got additional site work to do, foundations, plumbing, things like that to be connected.
This contract runs for how many years?
I think we're proposing it to last along with the gas purchase agreement.
So how long is that, Susan? You know?
I believe 2023, Commissioner Zalek, is when the GPA ends. But when the landfill is capped,
our participation, does our cost go down at any point, or?
There is potential for that. Once we understand exactly what our operating costs are, hopefully we can save you money compared to what your traditional T&D contract is today.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
No.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Minter. Mr. Minter.
Pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's going to be
Anybody
an
else in
interesting
Florida?
process.
Are you guys doing it anywhere else?
Landfill leachate disposal through evaporation is kind of a prevalent technology. It's an up-and-coming technology now. The way that we're doing it is using the waste energy from our power plant, so we don't have any additional combustion source or other form of input. Kind of lost my track there. What was your question again? I get excited about talking about the whole thing, and I kind of get off in the weeds, so I want to make sure I addressed exactly what you were asking.
I was just asking if anyone was doing this type of leachate.
Oh, removal, yes. Waste Management does quite a bit of it. They've got a couple of technologies out there. Leachate evaporation is pretty well known. It's the way that we're doing it that's novel. And rather than using direct fired combustion process, we're using the waste heat from our generators. So, like I said, there's no additional combustion source. It is becoming, leachate evaporation is becoming more and more prevalent. However, ours is novel in that we don't have the combustion source. And we also work harder to remove, particulate matter that others don't do. So we've got a patent pending on this. I just got notice that we were published, and we're going to be going through the examination process and trying to get that all wrapped up as part of it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
So are we going to get any royalties since we're helping you develop this technology?
We hope that this does become something that's viable enough that there's room for everybody. But we'll see how quick this moves. You're going to be capped. Actually, that brings us to one thing. The landfill will be capped, so this project might end before the gas purchase agreement ends, because once the landfill's capped, the leachate quantities go down.
Correct.
And we've designed the equipment to be portable, so we can remove it right off of your site when we're done.
Okay, good.
And take it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, typically the landfill leachate generation rates stay constant for about 5 years. And then at that point, once we get it capped and everything starts falling out of the waste, those leachate numbers will taper off and may not be viable for him to operate his plant, and we'll just go back to our traditional, where we haul it to a wastewater treatment plant, and where it's bulked and then hauled and then sent down the line to a traditional wastewater treatment plant. And we're going to maintain that agreement in place in the event that his plant goes down, so we'll have that option to still get rid of our leachate, and that doesn't become a problem as well.
Very good. It's exciting. Very
Yeah,
cool.
pretty cool.
Going to be a really neat process once I get it going.
Absolutely. Thank you for being with us this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Did Mr. Minter have anything?
Look for some approval here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a motion by Commissioner Moore with a second by Commissioner Zalek. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. That'll take us into item number 8.
Madam Chair, this is a request for approval of a qualified purchaser agreement and release for CFI Venture LLC. So this is the latest significant purchase and project from the Ocala 489 property. And so the master developer agreement that we entered into with Ocala 489 had some requirements in there for what would be considered a qualified purchaser, one of which, for instance, was acquisition of a site of 100 acres or more. This particular site's only 50 acres. And then there was some other criteria regarding the value of the capital investment in the property, which this site also does not measure up to the capital investment in the property that was in the criteria for the qualified purchaser agreement. However, as the board can see, nevertheless, this is a very, very significant capital investment in Marion County and the 489 property. And so the master developer agreement provided that the Board of County Commissioners and the City Council has the option of making a determination that even if the company didn't satisfy those specific criteria, that the board could still qualify it as a qualified purchaser. So that's the purpose of this this agreement being presented to you. And because the company would not close on the property if they did not obtain this designation as a qualified purchaser.
Okay. Any questions?
Just have a statement, because I did, as all of us do, the background, but this has got over 600,000 square feet of, warehousing space, so it's going to make a significant impact in helping our economy. So I'd like to go ahead and make the motion for approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Moore with a second by Commissioner Zalek for approval. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously, and I believe this is the last parcel.
They do have still one
they got
parcel.
one more
I think
after
it's a
this?
smaller parcel. It's
Smaller?
like 20 acres.
Okay. All right. They need to get that 20 acres sold. All right, thank you. That'll take us into item number 9 on our agenda.
First thing on this, on Section 9, Commissioner, I would like to give you an update on a couple things related to Hurricane Michael's. As you all know, that Fire Rescue Task Force 8 has been deployed, and then they have been already in the Panhandle helping up there. Also, we had received a request for emergency communication dispatchers, and we have a unit of 3 personnel. Will be going up to the Panhandle this afternoon, and they will be stationed in Gulf County. Those are the 2 updates on the hurricane. Last meeting, the board discussed and approved the Public Safety Coordinating Council, and there's supposed to be a staff liaison to that council. Just for the record, I would like to, for your consensus, administration would be the liaison to that council, and Jeannie Rickman will be the coordinating person. So I would like your consensus for the record to reflect that appointment.
Okay.
Okay. Next, we will go to item 9B. A request is to partner with the CEP and the City of Ocala to pay 10% of the cost for the study with the Gainesville Chamber of Commerce to do the air passenger services evaluation to determine if it's feasible for some regional airport between Gainesville and Ocala. I think it's a very minimal cost, and the data, whether this happens or not at the end, I think its data will be used by our CEP and by our community to better strategize for our future growth.
Commissioners, I sat in the meeting entirety with all the partners involved in looking at this, and I asked Monir, our county administrator, to put this on the agenda because I do think that for the minimal cost, it is money well spent, and we will be partnering with the different agencies, and then the Gainesville Chamber also has raised a considerable amount of money to go forward with this, and I think it's extremely important. It could be a complete game changer for our community moving forward.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Stone with a second by Commissioner Moore for approval. On item 9B, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item 9C, we have talked about it a lot, so if you have any questions, the research has been done. The county attorney looked at the Stafford Act and all the regulations from FEMA. We cannot provide a local preference as part of that RFQ. So that's why the item is coming back to you to approve a contract with Tetra Tech.
And Commissioners, I've asked our county administrator earlier this morning if we move forward with approving this because of all of the conversation that has been had. If you agree, if we could make that make that a 2-year contract instead of the time frame that we have now, and then moving forward, I think everybody involved has a clear understanding of the process, and with your approval, that's the direction that I would like to go, and our county administrator said that he thinks that that's okay. Susan said that she thinks that it's okay. So,
Who's our attorney?
It's the first time I've had the question, and I haven't evaluated it, so I would rely on what our procurement director tells. I can't answer that right off the top of my head.
Commissioner Gold?
Why the 2 years? Can we go lower than that,
Well,
or is 2 year
You'd have to go back into the bid process immediately, and you wouldn't have a contract in place in time to do all, or not the bid process, but the selection, and you just wouldn't have a contract in place in time. I originally asked for a shorter time period, but when we look at everything, the 2-year time period seems to be the best.
And I know it's a moot point. It's just, it's awful that we can't pick who we want or try to give local preference because of federal regulations. This really bothers me, but I understand it.
Well, I think it bothers us all, but unfortunately our hands are tied, and when it comes to spending our community's taxpayer dollars, there are rules that we have to follow, and we cannot put, we can't put $3 million at risk, and that was just from Hurricane Irma. I'm using that amount as an example.
That's a lot more than that.
Commissioner,
Well,
it will not be only.
No, for that portion of it was $3
Yeah,
million.
but you're not going to lose that. You're going to lose the certification of the tonnage they lost. You would lose $30 million.
Oh, okay.
You will jeopardize
$30 million.
reimbursement for the entire cost
Right.
if we are to deal with a
We're not
hurricane.
just talking about what we paid them.
Yeah, and I appreciate all the discussion everybody has had, and we do give local preference on everything we are able to. 2-year contract, at least it will give us to get through next season, and because we will have to re-advertise and go all over again through the same process.
Right.
And keep in mind, local preference was not the only criteria we used.
Right.
It's experience, training knowledge, equipment that is being used, the software that has been
It was
developed.
really the software
to
really
be
was
used.
the deal breaker on the whole
Yeah,
thing.
the software
It really was.
was
I mean,
the
when you look at
biggest issue.
how they evaluated it, it was.
And they
So,
have an
that's-
experience of
You guys can
getting
go back and look at it, I'm telling you.
reimbursement.
Don't
Just
shake
hope-
your head at me.
just
I'm
hope
just
they're
telling you,
there.
get better at it.
I just hope they're there. So hopefully we don't have to use them, but you know,
yeah.
just hopefully that they're there.
Well, this company is completely different from the company that we dealt with the last time, and the company that we're going into contract with. They're everywhere. So, and hopefully we won't have to use them. Hopefully we don't ever have a catastrophic incident
don't.
like we had last time. I mean, think about what our friends in the Panhandle are going through right now. I just, yeah. Anyway, so with your approval,
2 years.
board discussion, whatever you want to do there.
Here's what we are dealing
What
with.
did the RFP go out as?
The RFP was advertised for 5 years.
Okay.
If you approve it with this condition, with a 2-year condition, we will go back and send the agreement to Tetra Tech. If they sign it, that would be great. We have 2 years to work on putting another RFP out. If they don't, then we will bring it back to you to make a final
It would go to the
decision.
next,
Or we can go to number 2,
yeah.
Or they can protest.
or they can protest.
That's right. Right, because you put out the RFP for 5 years.
The RFP was for 5 years. But it doesn't mean that you can't make that condition, and we will go back to them.
Well, no, the board is the final say,
Sure.
right?
It's all a negotiation when it
All
comes to the
negotiation,
contract, right?
Yeah. That sounds good. All right, I'll move for approval with 2-year clause.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Zalek with a second by Commissioner Stone. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
Next thing under Section 9, Commissioner, it's the walk-on item regarding the reorganization of the Solid Waste Department and Utilities, combining under an Office of Environmental Services. There has been some revisions to what's being proposed. We have 3 key positions that I would like you to approve today that are impacted by both departments, and that will be the new director, the deputy director, and the fiscal manager. Those 3 positions are impacted immediately. The fiscal manager position, we already have that position in utilities, and the job description is being revised to provide assistance to utilities and solid waste. Time will be tracked for this position, and any cost incurred to help solid waste, it will be billed back to solid waste for that cost. The director and the deputy director, those are vacant positions. They are new. It will probably take us up to 60 days to fill those 2 positions. In the meantime, we will be in discussion with the clerk's office to develop a methodology for allocation of cost and how we're going to split that cost. We will have to meet with budget, with finance, and with the internal auditor and work out that process. And I have no doubt in my mind we can do it before we have those positions filled. There are a few other positions are being reclassified or eliminated, but they are either in the utilities department or in solid waste department. They have no impact on the overall Office of Environmental Services. The clerk and I have been having discussion last week and yesterday about this, and I think we are at a point that we both in agreement we can proceed in that manner.
Madam Chairman.
Clerk?
He's correct. We've had some conversation, and we've been in touch as clerk's office to Seminole County and Hernando to follow up on their organizational process. But what I have a commitment from our county administrator to be is that he's agreed to establish policies for accountability, internal controls, and transparency. What we need to meet as a county not only is a statutory requirement for us to be reporting our landfill costs specifically to the citizens, but also the state of Florida. Those are all statutory driven. So the need for this transparency and distribution of policy is incredibly important. Our external auditors have already voiced a concern that there is a scientific methodology that can be proven in relation to splitting the cost. They've already kind of given us some warning of that in our discussions with them. So even the idea of the 50-50 needs to be re-examined, and it will be. And one, the importance of it is to recognize the appropriate revenue and expenditure distribution between the 2 agencies, meeting reporting standards, as I said, for full cost by state law, and providing specific, reliable accounting for any fee increase in the future, where your public may come forward and ask for justification for fee increases, that you have that lined up to be able to have an explanation of the shared cost between the 2 agencies. Other than that, look forward to working with, as we always do, with the county departments, and we'll make it work.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioners?
Move to consider.
Second.
I have a motion to consider from Commissioner Zalek with a second by Commissioner Stone. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. As we've already had some considerable discussion regarding this item, is there anyone in the public who would like to speak to this? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board.
So I think as we just look long-term, making sure the solid waste and utilities has the right horsepower in the right places, you know, being strategic in that, the right people on the right seats in the right bus, you know, kind of all the things that we've been learning and trying to continue to execute. This is a good process moving forward. You know, the landfill operation will shift significantly in the next coming years. We all realize that. We need great operational managers and people there. And we need engineering expertise that we do have on board already, and sharing these assets, I think, is wise. But the clerk, I don't think we're going to have a problem, as him and I were talking this morning, with this board and understanding what we're doing today. But future boards certainly are not going to understand exactly why we made the decisions we did today. Just like, you know, sometimes from history we don't understand exactly why commissioners in the past made decisions they made. So I think it's really clear that we have the policies outlined, that internal audit understands exactly how to divvy up each person, especially when they're not, when they're a salary personnel. We need the right criteria that has been vetted. And if we do that, then we can prove to a citizen, absolutely, that when you're paying your utility bill, it's not going to pay for solid waste. And when you're paying solid waste tipping fees, it's not going for utility bill, you know, people. So we do need to make that clear, but other communities have done successful environmental services. And I think it puts our team in a better strategic position of leadership. So
I agree.
with that, I'll move for approval.
Second.
For just the first three, you're going to come back, so that allows you to post the jobs, but then you're going to come back with a fully processed out accounting and process measure before we approve the rest of all the changes, right? Right.
As outlined in this agenda item, three positions, but also there are reclassifications in solid waste, and utilities are not impacted by the combination.
Okay.
Okay, I would like those approved too.
So the 6
And after we
positions.
develop the apportionment methodology, then we will bring the rest of the positions.
They'll bring the final reorg back
That's correct, correct.
with the methodology, yes, the
Okay.
entire plan.
Yes.
So moved.
All right. I have a motion by Commissioner Zalek with a second by Commissioner Stone for approval. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
All what I have, Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. That'll take us to item number 10A and 10B.
So moved.
Second.
10A, we'll do 10A by
Well-
itself. Sorry.
second.
Motion by Commissioner Stone with a second by Commissioner Moore to approve item 10A. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll move 10B.
10B,
Hold on. That motion
Clerk,
passes
take the vote.
unanimously.
I got too quick.
10B.
yeah, Dr. Uzan Thompson received the appropriate votes.
Now I'll move 10B.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Moore with a second by Commissioner Zalek for approval. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
It's easy when there's only one name.
I know, right? Okay, so now we're moving into item 11, and we have 11A, 11B, 11C, 11D, and 11E.
So moved.
Second.
I'm just looking at the,
You need to.
You good?
no, I'm just looking at the date for Legislative Day. So I will go ahead, that, it will be questionable as to whether or not I'll be able to make that one,
We
so.
need to change
Is
that.
there something
No,
we should?
no, 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 no,
That's something we
no.
should know about?
Yes.
I haven't received my invitation.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well, we can change it in the future if we need to.
no, I'm pretty sure that I'll work out my schedule to be able to attend
on
on
Tuesday.
Tuesday, March the 12th. Yeah,
You gonna be busy?
I'll be a little busy that week.
Is it
Anyway,
the week before or after?
it's the week before.
St. Patrick's
Oh,
Day.
okay.
So-
Yeah, you won't be here then.
Is it St.?
Getting close to it.
The 17th.
We can move it back
That's
a
not what
week.
we're worried about.
Or-
Anyway,
I would
I have a motion for approval of 11A through 11E.
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. This is going to take us into item number 12, 12A.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion for approval of 12A by Commissioner Stone with a second by Commissioner Zalek. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. All right, that's going to take us into commission comments, and I'll start to my left with Commissioner Moore.
Okay, with what just happened with Hurricane Michael and the devastation through that, I'd like to thank all the first responders. Normally, I thank all of our local first responders. I'd like to thank the first responders throughout the United States that are going to the area that's affected. And thank you to our Task Force 8, to our communications, to all the first responders locally from the OPD, from the Sheriff's Department, from our fire rescue that have went up there to help out these people in time of need. Also, I'd like to thank all the churches and the nonprofits that are getting together, because our community has come together to help out our neighboring community that's in need. So it's really great when you see people coming together and helping people, because if you look at those pictures where houses were just leveled, the forest was leveled. Stanbridge, who's with our Sheriff's Department, he's with our helicopter, he was showing some pictures, on Facebook, and it's just this devastation, complete devastation, because the stuff that we see on the news, okay, they go to ground zero, but it extends miles and miles and miles out from that area. It's a huge area, huge swath that really got tore up, and it's just really great, all the people that are coming together to help. And I'd like to thank our board, because we're going to hopefully do some stuff as a board to get together to collect supplies to send up. But every church that's collecting supplies, every nonprofit that's collecting supplies, and that's sending people and sending supplies and coordinating with the ones that are boots on the ground up there. Thank you to everybody coming together and really helping out. And I'm sure from Leon County, Wakulla County, Taylor, Liberty or whatever, all those counties up in the Panhandle, I'll just put a blanket, Panhandle counties, I'm sure that they appreciate that we're jumping in and helping. But I'd like to just encourage our citizens to continue come together as a community to help out those in need. And thank you to everybody that works for Marion County and makes Marion County a great place to live. Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Zalek.
I'm good.
Commissioner Gold.
Feast this week.
Beast Feast.
Right. It's Thursday?
Florida Feast.
Florida Feast. It's the Beast Feast.
Marion County Road Builders
That's
Association.
not politically correct now. Oh my gosh.
No, it's the
Florida
Feast.
Animals. Yeah. It's people eating tasty animals.
Oh my goodness. Anyway.
Make sure you go hunting. All right. It's beautiful weather. It gets a little cooler. You can put your own meat in the freezer. And what else? Oh, and make sure that you guys, we got the form from the city of Ocala for our TPO stuff. So don't forget that. That's it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Gold.
All right. I'll go with a little bit off what Commissioner Moore was saying. The first responders that are there, I went to Katrina within a couple days after that event, and I returned. I was in Gulfport and a couple different places. I forgot where it was. But I went there, I think, 2 days afterwards, and yeah, the destruction that you see on TV is nothing like being there. And I went back 10 years later, and it still looks bad when you go to certain areas in there. And that's one of the things you got to remember is the first responders that are going there, they're going to see a lot of human suffering if it's not just the, any of the bodies that are recovered, but also the devastation that it does to it. So it's going to be something that people are going to see. But actually, Commissioner Moore will probably be surprised because I actually watched you a couple times on your Sunday sermons, and one of the things that you brought up one time was, and I can't say it directly word for word, but it was what we do while people aren't watching. And
yeah.
I kind of that kind of remind me, because we see a lot of people going to do things now. We see a lot of public figures going to do things, and sometimes people up for election going there, making sure they're doing their Facebook things and everything like that. But I think what we need to look at is what the people that are doing that not everybody's watching, because if you can do stuff to try to help people, it's you do it for the right reason, not just for a public spotlight on there. But that's pretty much all I have to say on that part. Glad to be back here, and don't plan on leaving for a while. And another thing too, why am I giving you so much credit here today? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Have you had enough Korean food?
I guess that's what it was. It must have really upset my stomach or something. And now I'm
Give
oh.
God credit, not me.
But another thing too is that the way that our board works together is very good compared to what I've seen. I've said that before. I'm very happy with it. I'm happy sitting out here on the outside of it and letting you all do a lot of the work at times. But I'm still very happy where I am, and I appreciate the work that we do together. So that's all I have.
Commissioner Stone?
Just two things. I went to the Central Florida MPO Alliance meeting this past Friday, and I'll give you a full report at our next TPO meeting. And also, the CEP has put together a new website that I think would very much benefit relocation, people who are looking to relocate, or companies as they're looking at talent. And it is livelifehere.com, livelifehere.com. And I just appreciate the work that they've done and shared that with HR professionals here in the community. And I encourage all of us to take a look at that as well when we're talking to people who have an interest in Marion County. So, and I'll echo my appreciation to this board, the way that we are able to work together, not always agreeing, but always in lockstep on behalf of what the decision is with the board. So I appreciate you, my fellow commissioners.
That it? Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, so I have a couple of things that I want to talk about this morning. First is going to be, we all know that at our first meeting in November, we will be electing a new chair and vice chair to the board. And I know that in years past, there has been some discussion regarding having a sitting chair that's in the middle of a campaign. And so we do have a couple of members that will be in the middle of campaigns when it comes to 2020. Want to make sure that none of you have any problems with fulfilling that role should you be elected to be the vice chair coming up, because I'll go ahead and say who I'm voting for chair, and that's going to be Commissioner Stone. I don't have any questions as far as that's concerned. So just wanted to and see who's possibly interested and not interested in being our vice chair moving forward.
I'm good for anything, so I'm willing to serve where I'm needed. What?
You two are the ones that are going to be up for election in 2020, and you're possibly looking at being vice chair. So I need to, before I cast my vote on November the 6th, I want to know that nobody has any problems with that.
No problem.
Okay. All right. And
because it doesn't specifically mean we'll be the chair.
Oh, yeah, it pretty much does.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why you're vice chair, so that you can be chair the following year.
I like my seat out here. I get to sit here. I'm close
this is what we need to hear.
Close to the bathroom, so you know,
okay.
I'm getting older.
This is all on the record now.
I know it is.
All right. Second of all, thank you, Commissioner. Second of all, we want to welcome Captain Spivey here with us this morning. For those of you who aren't aware, Preston is up in the Panhandle. He has been there since last Thursday night, and that's why he is not with us this morning. And we're very fortunate to have Captain Spivey taking his place. But I have been in contact with him on a daily basis regarding the things that are going on up there. Marion County has, we are committed to being a resource to our fellow Floridians, and we're committed to helping in any way that we can. We have several of our folks that are up there helping, and we've just sent 4 or 5 more up this week with the public safety communicators. Aaron was pulled up on Sunday, so we're proud to be able to help our neighbors in need. And with that said, J.D. Hall from Hills Mayflower has reached out, and he has committed a semi to drive supplies up. So in coordination with Hills Mayflower and J.D. Hall, and then the Marion County Sheriff's Office, all of our constitutional officers, and then the county, we are putting together a supply drive, and we're hoping to have that semi full by the end of next week and headed up to the Panhandle. There will be a complete list that has gone out, but let me go ahead and say it right now. They do not want clothes. No used items. Those are not the things that they need. What they need are they need food, non-perishable items, baby items, diapers, baby food, wipes, bug spray, first aid kits, tarps. They have plenty of water, no water, batteries for flashlights, Gatorade, things like that. FEMA's been great in sending them all the water that they need, but we will be publishing a complete list of the items that have been asked for, and we will be sending out a press release. We'll be using all of our county facilities, libraries, fire departments, county administration buildings. The sheriff's office has 3 different locations that they'll be taking in donations, as well as Hills Mayflower is going to be a drop-off location as well. They're at 416 Northwest 7th Street. But I know that our community is going to come together, and we're going to fill that semi-truck so that it can go up there. And, you know, we just all need to continue to pray for our family. That's what we call our neighbors. They're Floridians, and we need to continue to pray for them. We all know that our elected officials up there, we got a little taste of it with Irma, but what they're experiencing is far different than anything that we've ever experienced. Communications are very minimal. Some of them are communicating through satellite phone, which at times are not working. So just continue to pray for them, and let's make sure that our community comes out and we show our fellow counties the support that we want to show them.
And where, again, is the drop-off?
Drop-offs will be at all of the Marion County fire stations. There are 3 different locations for the sheriff's office. Nick, I might need you to help me on the last one. I know that they'll be using the North District office, the South District office, and then I'll let Nick tell us what the 3rd location is for the sheriff's office because I don't remember.
So I'm going to, and it's Nick Zoller, Public Relations Director for the record. I'll read off the addresses they gave me because they didn't give me the specific names. 8311 North Highway 441.
That's the North District office.
9048 Southwest State Road 200.
That's the Southwest District office.
And 3260 Southeast 80th Street.
That's the South District office. So those are the 3 locations. All of our county libraries, all of our constitutional officers. Mr. Clerk, that was one question I didn't get to ask you last night. Where in the courthouse would you be setting up a drop-off location?
You can do it at the information desk as you come in, and then we'll transport it into a vacant area where we can store it and then bring it over.
Okay, great. Property appraiser's office, supervisor of elections office, tax collector's office, all Marion County departments will be collecting. We'll have a drop-off location here in our administrative offices, probably in the BCC office, so will be where Naj is, will be the best location for that. And we'll be putting out, I believe the newspaper will be putting out an official announcement on that as well. So, and also with that list of supplies that are needed. Remember, when it comes to food, non-perishables, proteins are very important. And you have to remember, most people do not have power, so they're not going to have the ability to cook the food. It needs to be stuff that they can pretty much maybe open up a can, or maybe if they have some way of heating it up or whatever. But anyway, or a grill. And anyway, and continue to pray for all those that have lost so much. I think that is all that I have today.
Do you know where that, somebody asked, do you know where that's going specifically?
Well, it's specifically, we have 2 different counties, possibly Bay County and Gulf County. Preston is working on coordinating those efforts as far as what it's going to be. It might all go to one location, or we might split it up into 2 locations. We are letting them handle that part of it, the coordinating of all that.
Just in case we get asked.
You know, one other thing that I do have to bring up too as well is we have some wonderful community partners here in our community. It's been brought up, our Sonny's Barbecue folks.
Oh, yeah.
They have gone up there. They are feeding hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
No, they were supposed to feed 500 a day. They are feeding over 1,100
a day.
Katrina, too.
And they're doing this out of their own pocket.
And Cheney Brothers
So-
also has jumped in
So
with
Cheney
Mojo's.
Brothers, Mojos, and Sonny's are working together to
Yes.
feed 1,100 people a day.
Yeah, and so I think that that needs to be said. Again, I think that it goes without saying, when our community sees a need, whether it's a need in our community or in a catastrophic disaster such as Hurricane Michael, we step in and we fill the gap.
Yes,
And so very proud of Marion County.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, anything else? All right. With that, we'll take public comment. If there's anyone else that would like to speak this morning. Seeing none, we'll be recessed. Thank you.